Welcome to Run the Length, an accelerated gameplay commentary series covering Marvel Crisis Protocol. If you want to support the channel, you can do so for free by liking and subscribing. If you want to go above and beyond, I have a Patreon with behind the scenes content and these cool status effects tokens. This month's condition is Shock. With that out of the way, let's get into the match.
I am playing Black Order. I'm playing Corvus, Proxima, and Thanos, which is like the big three. You kind of play them every game as much as you can. And then we're at 18 points, which is kind of an awkward thing for Black Order because they usually, at points above 15, they want to play with some kind of gem situation. Specifically time. I love playing with time, but you can't really do that at a threat level 18, so I'm playing Baron Zemo as my fourth model. And for tactics cards, I'm playing All You've Got and Medpack, which are my two restricted tactics cards, and Bitter Rivals and Mothership. Those four, I think, are definitely locks for this matchup. All You've Got, Medpack, and Mothership. Actually, really all four of them, now that I'm thinking about it, you can at least be comfortable taking into any matchup. They're all extremely good cards, obviously. All You've Got and Mothership are like the only automatic ones for Black Order, but those other two are excellent as well, and Bitter Rivals and Medpack get particularly good against Sam Spam because Bitter Rivals will hit a lot of characters, and Medpack is usable between attacks, between activations, and Sam Spam usually doesn't one round you. They usually take a couple activations to kill one of your models. And then the last one I chose is Climbing Gear. I think that one's more flexible. I have options like Advanced R&D and stuff as well, but Climbing Gear is really good because it lets you mitigate or negate like one push or one mechanic of control or something, and it also can let you chase people down if they're like once, obviously only once, but chase people down if they're like running away from you with Sam Wilson's leadership. So for game plan, you really just want to chew through all their defensive tech as fast as possible. Like really make them play Heroes for Hire, make them lose Iron Fist, chew through any other beefy models, get them to Avengers Assemble as fast as possible. And then once you get through that, then you try to table them if they let you, but usually they'll start running away at that point. So then in that case, you are kind of doing damage control, maybe scoring with the Wakandan Herb if you can, but at least trying to keep the portals competitive until you can score enough points through a combination of portals and kills from Thanos' leadership to win the game.
So the roster was Sam and War Machine and Iron Man and Iron Fist and Hawkeye and Lizard. We got Sam, obvious choice, right? War Machine is there because he's a character that can sometimes just pop off with a bunch of dice. He's probably the one I care about the least in this roster, actually. I think he's probably the most flexible spot into Black Order because they don't have a ton of models and they don't tend to group up so much that his beams really do a lot. And 5-die beams into the damage reduction can be pretty underwhelming. But just in the 10 I had, he was the most durable model. So I brought him there to just take points and take hopefully a little longer to die. Iron Fist is there for Heroes for Hire, which everybody knows that one for Black Order. Splitting up Corvus's damage is good. Potentially throwing away is good. And then Iron Fisting Thanos is hilarious. Every time you pull that off, you're just swimming in money. I brought Hawkeye because I think he's a good, very maneuverable character on this crisis, right? He's good on Ds because he can stay on the home point. Hook Arrow lets him move around the board while shooting, and damage is kind of whatever, but getting either slow or shock, or ideally both, onto Corvus makes Corvus a very sad boy and helps neutralize some of his stuff. And then Lizard is kind of one of the more recent additions. Similar to War Machine, but has a throw, is kind of my thought process there. He's durable, he's fast with a medium base, medium move wall crawler, and then both his wild push on his strike and his throw can move Thanos, which otherwise this roster does not have a way to move. So tactics cards I brought, easy ones, right? So I brought Avengers Assemble. It's one of the best cards in the game, definitely the best Avengers card. It lets all your dudes move around, it lets me run away, it lets me kind of shift around the circle if we start running laps around the D. That one feels like a no-brainer in this matchup. My restricted cards were All You've Got, because the card's stupid. There's a lot of characters that just get to do a lot when they activate twice, right? War Machine loves it. It's actually kind of cute on like Hawkeye to get even more conditions out. But generally, I like that card if he fails to kill someone or in conjunction with my other restricted card of Field Dressing. Field Dressing is a super no-brainer in my mind for this matchup. I have so many characters Sam's leadership makes it very easy to move someone over to the range to field dressing whatever he just killed. I don't care about giving up priority because I'm never going to have priority. Field dressing rules in this, and so then all you got also interacts nicely with that. For the more tech picks, I took the new Helios Laser because I'm bringing Iron Man. So Helios Laser is a range 5, strength 2 energy attack that ignores line of sight and cover, and you can pay any number of power from any number of characters to add that many dice to it. Right, it has to be during Iron Man's activation, but when I have this many dudes and he's just going to start murdering me, I can build up a bucket of power pretty quickly, and it's probably my most efficient way to kill Thanos or Corvus. Right. A lot of their durability is based around their invulnerability, and so one enormous punch can just go right through that. Last card is Heroes for Hire. So this is the Iron Fist and Luke Cage card. When a friendly model within 3 of them is attacked, that model can pay 2 power. If they do, the Iron Fist can teleport within 1 of the target, and then he takes the attack instead. So it's kind of like a bodyguard card. And then the cool bonus on top of that is that if he is not dazed or KO'd by the attack, he gets to throw the attacking character away short. And so Corvus is a model that hates having to move, right? He has Death Blow is kind of the only movement he likes doing, and then, Thanos can help him out. But if he has to get up there and, off of his flurry, you can Heroes Fire from that and knock him away, and then he's just over there, and he has to choose between an atom splitter or walking, which makes him really sad.
Nate deploys Iron Man. Alex deploys Thanos. Nate deploys Lizard. Alex deploys Corvus. Nate deploys Hawkeye. Alex deploys Zemo. Nate deploys War Machine. Alex deploys Proxima. Nate deploys Falcon and Iron Fist.
There aren't a lot of key matchups that I'm looking for against Sam Spam because he has such an advantage in deployment. He deploys so much of his list after I'm already done deploying. So all I'm looking for is I want Thanos to be central so he can kidnap from either side portal. I want Corvus and Proxima to be split up, but then to converge over the turn once I decide where I think the fight is going to be. And I want Zemo to also be flexible so that his aura is up when I try to kill stuff at the top of turn 2 with Corvus and Proxima.
So with deployment into Black Order in particular, I actually don't care that much about the matchups, right? Because how I deploy, for the most part, he's going to have his death ball rolling around, and he's going to pull some stuff into that, right? And so I get to choose which models to offer up as sacrifices, right, to the god that is Corvus, but outside of that, the fight doesn't really get shaped that much, right? So I know that my most durable / least important models are Lizard and War Machine. So I put them on opposite sides so they can double move and get either one of the side points, or both if he passes a bunch early.
Nate activates Lizard, walks twice, and flips the bottom portal. Alex passes. Nate activates War Machine, he walks twice, and flips the top meteor. He rolls a skull, and Alex teleports him toward the center of the board. Our secure is Portal's overrun city with spider people. There are 4 inheritor portals around the perimeter of the board that you can interact with. When you interact, you roll dice equal to your energy defense, and if you roll more successes than the number of nearby enemies, you control it. If you roll a skull, your opponent gets to place the interacting model within 2. In the cleanup phase, you score 1 point for every portal you control.
So for Crisis, I picked Spider Portals. I think this is a slam dunk best choice, especially for this roster, into Black Order, but I think it's really good for a lot of rosters as a way to deal with Black Order. So it's a D shape, which they can play on a D shape, but it's not their favorite by any means, right? And especially when you have a lot of bodies or a lot of maneuverability, you can really make them chase you. It's one of the pay to flips, which is great when you're running away because it means you can claim the point and then leave, right? So you can sometimes just run over to their home point, claim it, and then run away from there, and then they either have to go back and deal with that, or you start getting VP on them.
Alex activates Thanos. He walks towards War Machine and cosmic portals him towards himself, then uses the Mind Gem. Thanos attacks War Machine and does no damage. Nate activates Iron Man. He walks to the top right portal and flips the portal. He walks towards War Machine. Alex activates Zemo and walks on the portal and fails to flip it. He rolls a skull and Nate moves him away from War Machine. Zemo walks back to War Machine. Nate activates Iron Fist. He walks twice, standing behind the dumpster, and stays outside of 4 of Thanos. Alex activates Corvus and climbs up the bugle. Corvus then walks to the portal, flips it, and does not get teleported. Nate activates Hawkeye, walks within 5 of Thanos and Corvus. Alex activates Proxima and throws a spear at War Machine, doing 3 damage and poisoning War Machine. He places within 1 of War Machine. Proxima strikes War Machine, dealing 2 damage. This dazes War Machine and triggers Sam's leadership. Nate advances Falcon short. Nate activates Falcon, walks and attacks Corvus. He deals 2 damage, banks the push, and hits the ricochet trigger, bouncing the shield into Zemo. But the bounce does no damage. The banked push on Corvus resolves, and he pushes Corvus away from War Machine.
I should have backstopped Corvus here. There wasn't really a huge advantage to him being slightly closer to the fight, but being able to be pushed deep into what is effectively my deployment zone. In the future, that's something that I'll be more cognizant of in this matchup, because they prioritize pushes, and that's a big part of how they control Corvus.
This ends the turn. Nate scores 3 points from portals. Alex scores 1 point from portals. Score is now 1-3. Alex activates Proxima, strikes War Machine, and Thanos uses Death's Decree on the attack. She KOs War Machine. This triggers the Thanos leadership and scores Alex 1 point. Score is now 2-3. The Sam Wilson leadership triggers, and Nate advances Lizard towards Alex's table edge. Alex continues Proxima's activation by playing Bitter Rivals on Hawkeye. He attacks Iron Fist with a spear throw, dealing 2 damage. She places next to Iron Fist. Alex plays Mothership to move Corvus next to Proxima. He uses Husband and Wife to activate Corvus. Corvus uses Glaive's Edge and strikes Iron Fist. He deals 3 damage and dazes Iron Fist. This triggers the Sam leadership. Nate advances Iron Man out of 2 of Corvus and onto the portal.
So in general, at this point in almost every Black Order game, you're just looking to do as much damage as possible with a Corvus and Proxima combination activation, and it's probably going to involve Mothership, and if your dice go crazy, it might involve all you've got as well. In this particular case, I want to make sure that War Machine goes off the table, and Proxima is able to do that with her activation, which means in that case, I'm bringing Corvus forward and trying to get Iron Fist off the table. After War Machine, I prioritize Iron Fist as a target. Iron Fist can make himself the target of my attacks anyway, so I'd rather just focus on Iron Fist consciously and not give him too many opportunities to reposition. Killing Sam in Sam Spam is the ultimate goal, but no Sam Spam player will let you do that without getting through Luke Cage or Iron Fist first.
Alex walks Corvus and picks up the herb. Our extract is Mystic Wakandan Herbs, Factor Fiction. There are 2 herbs and 2 vessels. If you pick up the herb farthest from you and hold it within 1 of the vessel closest to you, you score 4 victory points in the cleanup phase. While holding the herb, models can only take 1 move action per turn, gain 1 die on physical attacks, and are immune to slow and stun.
I think the Wakandan Herb is probably the best crisis for Black Order. I think people understand that it's good for them, but I actually think it's better than people say it is for Black Order specifically, because it's an extremely dead crisis, which is what Black Order wants generally. But in the late game, when you theoretically could score it, most of the time Wakandan Herb never gets scored by either team. But if you feel like you need to score it, Black Order is one of the better teams at scoring it, because as long as Thanos is still alive, he has a lot of control both over moving your herb and stopping the opponent's herb from moving.
Alex plays Medpack to heal Corvus to full. Nate plays Field Dressing on Iron Fist to remove Dazed and heal him 1. Nate activates Iron Fist, walks up to Thanos, and attacks him with the Iron Fist. He takes no damage and receives an activated token. The Iron Fist deals 1 damage to Zemo.
So, this is another, I don't want to call it a trap because there's very little you can do to stop this, right? But this is one of the reasons why I love field dressing, is because I have so many bodies, a bunch of them are very good at generating, a little bit of power, and don't really spend it on a ton of stuff if I want to save it. So after Corvus goes, picks up the herb and heals himself, I have a perfect opportunity for Sam to field dressing on Iron Fist. Iron Fist can then walk, and Iron Fist Thanos, right? And that's my... Probably actually like that more than Heroes for Hire. I honestly think if they took that card away from me, I would still be playing Iron Fist here. I have to think about it a little bit, but just knowing, Thanos is always going to go after those 2, right? They almost never use priority on Thanos. And so then I have these windows to activate Thanos, and then the turn is just mine to do whatever I want with, right? I can take a bunch of uninterrupted gunshots to try to push stuff around. I can move models. I can reshape the whole fight myself and kind of take that turn off to do whatever I want.
Alex activates Zemo and uses Master Swordsman and attacks Iron Fist. He deals 1 damage, dazing Iron Fist again. This triggers Sam's leadership. Nate advances Falcon towards Corvus. Alex advances Zemo towards Falcon. Nate activates Falcon and attacks Corvus. He's down a dice from Bitter Rivals. He deals 1 damage to Corvus and pushes him away from Iron Man. He attacks Corvus again for no damage.
I got excited for the opportunity to banish Corvus, right? Falcon has a reasonable chance of pushing Corvus, right? It's not great with his damage reduction, but I only need 1 to squeak through, right? I'm not trying to kill him, so the damage reduction only kind of helps me not give him a bucket of power as I'm doing this. The problem is that I got excited enough that I forgot about bitter rivals entirely. And so I go with Falcon first, and I'm like, oh, I only have 3 dice. 3 dice is way worse. Worse chance of a push, worse chance of ricochets for bonus value. Just real bad time, right? And I had used all of his power to field dressing Iron Fist, so I couldn't charge and at least reposition myself unless I hit the wild on the first attack. So Falcon goes, makes his attacks, doesn't get the wild, so he can't charge, but he does get at least 1 push in there to start getting Corvus out of the fight, right? What I should have done very easily is gone with Hawkeye first, taken his 2 gunshots at whoever I want, and then through the magic of a hook arrow, move that bubble wherever I want, right? Hawkeye had plenty of power, plenty of maneuverability. I could easily have gotten out of that bubble and upped my odds to really get Corvus out of my face for a long time.
Nate activates Hawkeye and shoots Corvus, dealing 1 damage. He shoots him again, dealing no damage, and gives him shock. Hawkeye uses Hook Arrow to the other side of Alfredo. Iron Man activates and shoots Corvus, dealing no damage and hitting the wild, pushing Corvus away. Iron Man shoots Zemo. He hits the wild and pushes him away. The attack deals 4 damage and dazes Zemo. Nate activates Lizard and walks twice next to the portal. He flips the portal. This ends the turn. Nate scores all 4 spider portals. The score is now 2-7. Alex activates Zemo and charges Iron Fist. He uses Steel Rush, Master Swordsman, and Death's Decree from Thanos. Iron Fist plays Heroes for Hire and moves out of range of Master Swordsman and into cover. The attack does 5 damage, KOing Iron Fist.
Unfortunately for me, a rules interaction came up that dramatically changed the math of this attack in a way I wasn't prepared for. Even though Zemo ends his charge within 2 of Iron Fist, Heroes for Hire takes him out of 2, turning off Master Swordsman in a way that I did not expect. That was a crushing disappointment, quickly followed up by a resounding victory, where Zemo, without more than his single reroll, one-shot Iron Fist, and I was able to walk up to Sam and make a strike on him as well.
Zemo moves to within 2 of Falcon and Iron Man. Thanos' leadership triggers. The score is now 3-7. The Sam leadership triggers. Iron Man moves over to the tanker. Zemo strikes Falcon and does 5 damage, dazing Falcon. The Sam leadership triggers. Hawkeye moves forward.
I have the power here to pay for Vibranium Shield, but I really think on 5 health and 3 defense against just his normal attack, I can live through this, and I can save this power because I'm angling to do a Helios Laser, right? A lot of my other characters have power build up. I'm actually happy if this does some damage, doesn't kill me, because that's just more fuel for the Space Laser. So alright, not going to pay for it, just going to roll some dice, we'll see what happens. Foolish me to underestimate Zemo, who's having the day of his life, also dazes Captain Falcon.
Outplayed again.
Nate activates Iron Man. He strikes Corvus, dealing 3 damage and pushing Corvus. Nate plays Avengers Assemble. Hawkeye and Iron Man pay for it. Iron Man moves towards Corvus. Hawkeye moves away from Corvus. Iron Man uses homing rockets, dealing 1 damage and dazing Corvus.
This is the result of a sort of general misplay on my part. I needed to seriously prioritize backstopping Corvus. When my opponent takes this many models that have this consistent access to pushes, there's no excuse not to use someone like Zemo or Thanos to stop Corvus from being pushed out of the fight. Thanos did get activated by Iron Fist at one point, which put a lot of wrenches into my gears in terms of how I wanted the fight to play out. But I still had Zemo at pretty much every point in the game where Corvus was being pushed out of the fight. And I need to more often and more consistently understand that a slight misposition of Zemo is a very small price to pay for Corvus being consistently in the fight.
Alex activates Proxima. He uses Quantum Starburst on Hawkeye. It dazes Hawkeye. The Sam leadership triggers. Nate moves Lizard away from Corvus. Proxima walks towards Nate's portal and flips it. Nate activates Lizard. He tail whips Thanos, dealing 1 damage. He hits the wild push and chooses not to. He tail whips again and does 1 damage. Lizard throws Thanos away. Alex activates Thanos and uses the Mind Gem to move Lizard off the point and punches him for no damage. Thanos walks over to the portal and flips it. He rolled a skull, so Nate teleports him towards Alex's table edge. This ends the turn. Nate scores 2 from portals. Alex scores 2 from portals. The score is now 5-9. Nate activates Sam. He charges and does a Red Wing Assault into Proxima, dealing 2 damage. Sam throws her away, but she falls short of the dumpster. Sam places 2. Sam flips the portal. Sam throws the shield at Proxima, dealing 1 damage. He pushes her away. Alex activates Zemo. He charges and attacks Sam with Steel Rush and Master Swordsman. Sam increases his defense with Vibranium Shield. The attack does 3 damage and bleed. Zemo advances slightly closer to Sam to get on the objective. Zemo strikes Falcon again. Sam buffs his defense again. The attack deals 1 damage and leaves Sam on 1. Zemo tries to flip the portal and fails. Nate teleports Zemo off the portal. Nate activates Hawkeye and shoots Proxima. The attack does 1 damage. He shoots her again, dealing 1 damage and dazing Proxima. Hawkeye uses Hook Arrow to get to the portal and flips it. Alex activates Corvus. He uses climbing gear to advance short. Corvus attacks Lizard with Death Blow. It does no damage, but Corvus triggers Flurry. The strike from Flurry attacks Lizard, dealing 1 damage. Corvus strikes Hawkeye with Glaive's Edge and Death's Decree, dealing 5 damage, KOing Hawkeye. The Thanos leadership triggers. Score is now 6-9. Sam leadership triggers. Nate moves Lizard on the portal and heals 1 damage. Alex uses All You've Got on Corvus. Corvus strikes Lizard and does 2 damage. Corvus does a Glaive's Edge strike and does 1 damage. Corvus fails to flip the portal. All You've Got KOs Corvus.
I am not super confident in the math that Corvus in that particular situation is very likely to daze Lizard from where he was. I made the decision to All You've Got for 2 reasons. One, I felt like the game in general was not going my way, and I needed something big to happen, which in this case would be daze Lizard and also flip the portal to push it back in my favor, allow me to catch up on points, and hopefully table him or have Thanos get the herb across the pitch at some point. The other reason I decided to All You've Got here is because I felt like I was staring down the barrel of a Helios laser on either Thanos or Corvus, and Corvus was already injured, whereas Thanos is not injured. So I felt like if I could force my opponent to use his Helios laser into Thanos on that turn, rather than into Corvus, that even if Thanos got dazed, I was still in the game, but if Corvus gets killed before All You've Gotting, I've certainly lost it. My opponent did not ultimately decide to Helios laser that turn, and I'm not 100% sure whether that would have been the right call for him. But that was the threat I was looking at when I decided that I should just get 2 more attacks out of Corvus, hope something special happens, and then say goodbye.
Nate activates Lizard, tail whips Thanos and does no damage. Lizard attacks again and does 1 damage. He hits the wild push and moves Thanos away. Alex activates Thanos and walks towards Lizard and attacks him, dealing no damage. Thanos uses the Mind Gem to move Lizard to the other side of the bugle. Nate activates Iron Man and double walk to the portal just outside of 4 of Proxima. This ends the turn. Nate scores all 4 portals. Score is now 6-13. Alex activates Proxima and attacks Iron Man with Quantum Starburst. It deals 1 damage. Alex concedes.
The game is over here because I can't stop him from scoring enough points to get to 16, basically, and I can't catch up. I don't have enough activations to get the herb over to the vessel at this point, and I don't have enough bodies to flip portals. The only way I can do this is either by tabling Nate completely, which requires Zemo to kill Sam, Proxima to kill Iron Man, and Thanos to daze and then kill Lizard. And then also, on top of that, to flip a bunch of portals. Once Proxima failed to one-shot Iron Man, which, to be clear, was very unlikely, and I know that. I knew that there was effectively no mathematical possibility that I could beat him, so we decided to call it.
As you saw at the end of the game, right, things pretty much went to plan. There were some crazy dice, some of my stuff got exploded, that's okay, right? I got the pushes when I needed them, I got the portals, right? I don't think I ever missed a portal flip, so I was always getting the VPs I needed, I was always managing to push his characters away. I didn't get all the pushes possible, but I got all the pushes I needed, right? And so that was kind of, while his dice exploded in very flashy ways, when he's murdering my characters with overkill, right? I would not say my dice let me down, because I managed to get what I needed when I needed it.